how would you take a step back to know, all right, do I take the masculine? I need to do something about this. Or the feminine, all right, I just need to hug her and nurture her and let her be with this for a moment before I go into the, all right, what are we going to do about this?
I mean, I have a feeling on I know what would flow for you. Now, everyone is different, but I feel like you're hitting the most important part, which is even asking the question in the first place. And so that's a great tool. That is, in terms of communication, in terms of connection, that's like a superpower, being able to ask that first. In that moment, not taking immediate ego offense that, you're triggered because of something I said, and then I take offense to it. Like, how did I know? Or, what that's, or putting it on you. Well, you need to take responsibility and, all these things, which, to some degree we all do to our insecurities or our triggers. It's important to take responsibility, but sometimes it's an unknown. How can we know about something if we don't know about it yet?
Yeah.
And it could be an opportunity that came forward. It could be a recent insecurity. It could be something that was buried deep down, 20, 30 years ago that that's just coming up now, that we're just finally in a space to be able to do that. And so some people approach things differently. And to me, it's all about the intention. Is the intention of the vulnerability from a place of fear, or is the intention of the vulnerability from a place of love? And then from there, knowing that person, if they need a moment for a quick hug, just to say, okay, thank you for telling me. Like, I know this is how it would flow for you and I, for an example. Big hug. Thank you so much for telling me. That was definitely not the intention. Now I understand. Now I know. What did that bring forward? Instead of me placing on you and saying, here's a solution, or just get over it, or which is in essence a solution, which is the very potentially masculine approach. Do you need to talk about it? Would you like to talk about it? Is there what's being brought forward? These kind of questions to connect. Maybe you don't need to. That's okay. Maybe the process is just to be aware of it, just to acknowledge that it even exists in the first place. But giving yourself that space could be just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's maybe all it needed. But if I didn't allow for those 2 seconds, I just immediately went into a solution, then all it did was create a much longer situation of going back and forth and back and forth. And we've all made those mistakes too, for sure. We're not going to be perfect in our execution of the communication each time. But yeah, really knowing the intention behind the vulnerability is important, and recognizing that it's happening real time. That someone saying they're triggered, it doesn't have to be an attack on you. It can be a revelation of that from within of that person.